Hello and welcome, I'm No442 and this is another exciting episode of 3D Printed. So this time I'm going to be showing you Repetier Host again, so we can try and improve the quality of the prints as per last time, because if you remember it didn't come out very well. So what I'm going to show you is, on the table here I have some test results from which I got from messing about with Repetier Host. There's 6 different tests. I tried both Cura and also Slice 3R, and they both had pretty good results. So the first one here was just a standard test. This was kind of before testing anyway. This is what I got before that. Over here we have the first test. This came out pretty well actually compared to what I was expecting. From what we saw in the last print anyway. So we were using Slicer again. We increased the temperature to 218, which is kind of averaging out about 214 when I look at the program, which is okay, seems about right. But that is printing a lot better, a lot clearer. And it's actually printing as well, as opposed to the first one, which was just kind of a big mess and only printed half of the actual object, because I think it must have lost heat or something like that maybe. It just didn't really work out very well. So what else I did was I lowered the fan speed to between 0 and 50, which is a setting that you can change on Repetier. I'm going to call it that from now on, okay? So just so you know, which is a setting that you have on Repetier, so you can choose the maximum and the minimum setting available. And it will use its smart fan speeds in order to allow you to choose the speed based on how long the layer will take, so that you can call it the best way possible. Okay, so I've got here the second test. With this one I used Slicer as well. I lowered the fan speed to between 0 and 30, and I increased the overlap so that it had 17% instead of 15. And this actually caused some, this actually created some fairly favourable results actually. It does look pretty good. The corners are a bit strange on here still. I think it still needs a bit of tweaking with the fans. But I found that around about 30, maybe 25, if it was on continuously, like 15 to 25 would be probably about the perfect kind of fan speeds available for it. From my extensive testing so far, seems to be the case, and also for the temperature to be around about 214 seems to be the best print speed, the best print for this type of filament. This filament is XL-Van, which is a cheap filament, but I suppose cheap filament usually you do print at a bit of a higher temperature than normal filament usually, and also that could actually be the reason behind us not getting perfect prints with this software. I will be testing this very shortly on a different filament that I haven't yet got through, which I will be getting through probably tomorrow actually, and that is from one of the vendors. I will tell you more about it on the time, but I should be testing that with our printer to see if that does increase the print quality for the finer details on the figurine prints and stuff like that, to see if we can get better quality prints from that. But that might take a bit of tweaking at first as well, because obviously you need to adjust the fan temperature, the temperature of the print and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean there's a lot of stuff that needs to be changed when you change filament types, or brands anyway. There could be a big amount of different changes for that. Okay, so the third test, I had very similar settings but in Cura, and as you can see the top bit was kind of punctured and the inner of it was kind of frail. I used similar settings. It was between 0 and 50 on the fan. The temperature that I wrote down says 215. I think it was actually lower than that. I think it was around about 205 maybe. So that could have accounted for the frailness of the design, but I'm not fully sure if I remember what happened with that one. Okay, moving on. Test number 4. We've got Marvin. I started printing Marvin because obviously Marvin is a good way to gauge the quality of prints. So we've got them here. Usually when I print with slicer or slice 3R, you get the little dangly bit underneath the legs, or in between the legs, sorry, and that just always made me wonder how you're supposed to print him properly. But when you use Cura to print him, you don't really get that, which is interesting. The bottom of it printed pretty well. You can't see that in this picture obviously, but it did. His face is fairly well defined, I'm not going to lie. It's not a bad print for a second print on Cura without any real changes. The fan I've got going at between 0 and 30%, the temperature at 217, so this is more in the range of what I'm looking for as to getting out of this. The next one that I did, I had the fan at between 2 and 40%, so the fan was always on at some point. There is a minimum layer time of 10 seconds. That is what we're trying to aim for at that point. Number 6, we moved on to another one with Cura. I don't know if this one's better or worse than the previous one. I think it might be a little bit worse. Temperature was at 216, with the minimum at 5%, max at 60%, layer time at 15 seconds, speed at 19 millimeters a second, from the other ones which are at 10 millimeters a second, and yeah, the infill was 25%. So it does look pretty good. It came out pretty heavy. The majority of it is actually quite well constructed. Just the top bit, which leads to me to think that maybe it's to do with the fan cooling, because obviously you need the fan to be at the correct settings for you to be in order to print the finicky bits really well. And I mean, around the face you can see the finicky bits are good, but they're not as good as they should be. And that goes for the previous print of this as well. Okay, so there's a lot of stuff that come out there, a lot of information that we've learned from these prints, and also about the filament that we use. There's a lot of information that can help us in the future, I think. I will continue to do testing anyway. It's nice to just kind of take it on as like a science experiment kind of thing, and we can just keep on growing and learning more. I will show you my current settings in Cura and also in Slicer now. I'll do some screenshots and just post it on the screen now.